experimentation has started to come in. Eccentricity, I'm not being eccentric because of forcing myself to be eccentric. I am like that. I that eccentric thing is I cannot be the Sasa and iron keep pulling me down. That is not in that normal distribution. He cannot be in that normal zone. Either he is in this particular extreme or he is in the other extreme. The way I handle with Sasa iron also, they feel every single day which I'm handling them. On one day I'm really uh, at ease with them. On some other day, it's again it's not the same. So all these are earlier. I feel I keep doubting what is it I am doing. Now I am at ease with what I am doing. It's perfectly okay, because that level of experimentation allows me to try out. Okay, this is what is working. This is what is not working. Lots of times that experimentation, out of 10, 8 fails. When 8 fails, I'm perfectly okay with it now. That 2, when it becomes success, that I keep experimenting it on further. So those are all that part of eccentric and organized. Organized, I'll talk upon that much more deeper. Organized is my routine activities. Some of the activities in my morning routine, I made it really a bit more organized. But organized and eccentric, both is part of my day now. This eccentricity is basically that curiosity, that spontaneous nature. All these things is what I felt as reason for being eccentric and more organized, both being the other sides of the spectrum. In terms of the concept of genius, when the 3rd January session, where we're talking about the snippets of every individual has the capacity to be a genius. That has again brought in that lots of inner confidence. Earlier days, when school days and so on, when someone says that IIT is someone is from IIT, I used to feel okay. The IIT is something that is not a cup of tea for me. But after being to IIT, it's like and then from there getting into entrepreneurship was like a dream. Then after being into entrepreneurship, then that every single activity which I have been doubting myself me as a being can do, it has aligned. But again, I have multiple times, whenever I'm in that comfort zone, I have quit that comfort zone. So I am trying to figure out where this being is moving towards, because what it is exploring, whether it's exploring to be comfortable or is it exploring to be really uncomfortable. So that is where this complete spiral which I started off with, where it's exploring to be comfortable in the uncomfortable zone, which is going towards the center of the hurricane, is where the genius and self is moving towards. The feeling now is more courageous. I'm walking a bit more confidently, sharper focus. The belief in self is much more. So the calmness of where I started off with, and the calmness where I'm moving towards, start and end are both empty. But the empty ending is because of the being more prepared. And that emptiness is, I'm not waiting for things to happen. So things will happen, and this being is just following that path. So it is getting into that zone. And if the cup needs to be filled at that point in time, it will get filled. If the cup needs to be empty, it's okay to be empty. So start and end of emptiness. So all that, the genius in self, explanation of improved being, being a prepared being, and being more self-aware, being more self-conscious, and instead of looking at something, that mystery zone, it's like solving a puzzle. Solving a puzzle with a forceful, stressful activity. Now I'm solving the puzzle with some more ease. That ease is what I would want to continuously stress upon, because that is one important learning which I got from this session, which I would want to capture as my learning outcomes, where one of the main outcome is acceptance, one with nature, that inner oracle. That is one important learning. The second is important learning is will to act upon self. Yes, second improvement which I would want to call. The third is that curiosity, reinitiation. I have been all my explorations, experimentations is out of curiosity, but sometimes in the centroid days, that curiosity, I was trying to kill that curiosity, and in the activity of I need to perform. When I told to myself I need to perform, I was performing on a stressful note. But that childlike curiosity, which I have reinitiated now, is getting into that. When the child needs to be at ease, it is at ease. When the child needs to walk, it walks. When the child needs to crawl, it crawls. When the child needs to see something, it sees. When the child needs to smell something, it smells. So it's at that ease. So there is no excess baggage. That detachment of the past has allowed me to be that reinitiate the childlike curiosity. And these are all some three important outcomes I would want to call in the last 9 months, which has happened in me. From there, the next part of my presentation in terms of the learning, I would want to walk through a typical day of that randomness and routine, which all the activities, which the learnings, which is getting into the doing part of it. It's again a combination of randomness and routine. It starts off normally at 3:34, about 4 hours of sleep. When it is tired, when the body is a bit tired, maybe it's morning 10 o'clock, I take a quick nap, or if it's 2 o'clock, I take a quick nap. So that listening to the body and the mind. Earlier, I was not listening to my body at all. When I need to stress, I keep stressing. But now, when the body is not comfortable, I take that charging part of it. I give the time for the body, because after that 15, 30, 20 minutes or 30 minutes of nap, the body is again in its fullest state. So that I call it as a nappuccino, like a cappuccino. I call that as an nappuccino. My kids make fun of me on that particular activity, but I am at ease with that little naps which I take. Then in terms of reflection, I would say I'm a bit over obsessed with reflection. So I write my daily journal manually. I create. I have my daily journal, and once I write my daily activities, what I have done, I do a 3 lines of reflection. How was that day? I also do a habit tracker. So it's like a. It's like a tracker where I see patterns in my tracking. So and that sometimes I keep writing some quotes regular basis. So I keep tracking some of that, and sometimes when I don't write that thing, that pattern also reflects that, yeah. So this is time when I need to get back. So that habit tracker, that pattern checks, that weekly reviews and monthly reviews of what I have done. So that, and I also do some very random. I critically tear myself apart. So whenever it's sometimes when I'm in my comfort zone, I tear myself apart, and when I am in my bad state also, when I feel really very, this is not going right, I tear myself apart. Literally, I write a lot. I tear myself apart. I'm not. sure whether I get answers out of it, but it opens up lots of possibilities where I initiate an activity to get search for answers. So, and I also have an emotional journal, ask myself lots of questions, cornering my thoughts. So I want to say a bit over obsessed in terms of reflection, but I feel I'm comfortable with it. So so then in terms of planning, I block my times. So at office, I block some amount of time. At personal work, I block amount of some amount of time. But that blocking is my morning planning schedule. But 20% I stick on to it. 80% I hardly stick on with my time blockers. When I earlier days, when I'm doing that, I get a bit stressful that I am not able to meet my timeline. So today's activity, which I was talking about, I would want to finish today's presentation in 1 hour. It took about 5 hours to do my presentation. When I'm in that flow, I let it in that flow. If it has to happen, if I need to do it, let me do it. If some of the other things needs to take a second stance, I try to manage it. So I don't make it as a stressful activity in my planning, even though I do lots of time blocking. I do a larger to-do list. I have a to-be list. I do a to-think list also. So to-think list is something really very interesting. So whenever I feel a bit of blockers, and at that point I am not able to think through, I keep making notes of that, and I have a list of things that I do it as a to think list. And during my morning yoga sessions is where either before yoga or after yoga is where I start that one particular topic. Whatever I noted down, I reflect on that topic and start writing about it. So that writing, execution of that writing is hardly 2%, but that writing gives me lots of clarity of the being needs to do a lot of things. And 1 or 2 activities I initiate. So, and the continuous reflection allows me to again realign. All these are really very dynamic, even though I'm writing it like lots of these are really forceful activities which I'm putting it together, but none of it I make it forceful. If some days which I want to take it really very light, I neglect all these, and that randomness also flows in. So that is where the concept of randomness and routine, that routine is there, but that randomness, if it needs to creep in, I allow that randomness to happen. I don't put a, who am, because now I is gone, who am I to stop that randomness? Randomness is supposed to happen, and let it happen. I come to terms with that. So the earlier frustration with so much to do, now I come to terms with that. And again, 9 months, this one significant thing of that curiosity thing, I would want to call lots of reading has happened, is happening nowadays. In terms of reading the physical books, lots of audio books continuously, I keep listening, that small book reviews, because lots of topics, whenever I'm, the mind is now continuously searching for going towards the clarity, the fineness which is going it towards, it is asking for lots of clarity nowadays. So when that seeking for that clarity is happening, some amount of clarity is coming in experiences, but lots amount of clarity is starting to come in during the sessions. Enormous amount of clarity starts to come in, and some amount of clarity starts to come in terms of reading. So again, this reading, it is that audiobooks and so on continuously, again, as me as a being, learning doesn't get into me, it doesn't stick to me at all. It's, I need to really experience it, and I need to really practice it, or I need to really structure it for that learning to stick on to me. So whenever I read a book, it takes lots of time for me to read a book. But nowadays, that when I'm listening to audiobooks and so on, it's hardly one or two pointers stick with me, but that pointers are some initiators for me to explore further. That's how I'm looking at it. So lots of new exploration in terms of the Sanskrit language exploration, Kannakol singing as exploration. All these are some things that recently I started off, even though I'm not spending enormous amount of time, but this is always there in my list. When there is some amount of time, I start putting my time on terms of getting these. So all that is that randomness. I would want to say it's part of it in terms of, again, in terms of the home family working, much more time with the kids. Now and then that shouting creeps in, which but earlier shouting, it used to be really very frequent, but nowadays with kids, when I need to be like, I need to make a point, I try to make it a point. And earlier I was trying to feel that I am in control of them. Now who am I to control? Since that I has gone out, who am I to control? That acceptance of I cannot control anyone. So if something needs to be, as kids, if they need to be exposed, I tell them that it needs to be exposed. It's up to Shastra as a being or I am as a being for them to accept it, understand and reflect on, take it further. And I cannot enforce certain things. So that I come to terms. Earlier, I was trying to enforce, and even I was in that uncomfortable zone. The kids were in an uncomfortable zone. Anandoli was in an uncomfortable zone, and all these crept in because I was trying to enforce what I want. Now that enforcing has gone out, that shouting has come down drastically. All these are part of that fine preparedness that has come in terms of this multiple learnings that has gone into the subconscious mind. So again, in terms of the planning, the bit of deep work, I tell to myself at least 1 or 2 hours I need to, when I sit focusedly, I do my focus activity. Hardly that focus activity happens because lots of distractions keeps coming in. But when I sit continuously for 4 to 6 hours. So those both extremes keeps happening. I don't force myself. If I need to sit, depending on the situation. Now today is a presentation. I could have done this presentation much more earlier itself, but multiple reasons it's been going on. But am I feeling satisfied with today's presentation? I felt that if I have not done this justice, I wouldn't want to present. I tell to myself. So that is a level of, I take that call whether I need to do or I shouldn't do. So some benchmarks I have, and based on that, I keep moving it on. So nothing is forceful. If it has to happen, I make it happen. Or if that randomness needs to creep in, I let that randomness to come in. In terms of office work, I used to be really very commanding. So, and I always used to be a people person. And when I give, I always ask, what is it for me? But nowadays, that giving is natural. And that what is in for me is not coming in. And when I have guided about 50, 60 interns in the last 20 years. But in the last 1.5, 2 years of my intern guiding, those interns, my 22 years of my professional career, about 50, 60 interns, my last 1.5 years of my intern guiding, about 8 to 10 of that interns are really, they are like my extended arms. It's happened because that unconditional giving of, it's not spoon feeding I would want to call, but that asking the right questions at the right moment, all those things have brought in that my interns, I feel them, they are my extended arms nowadays. So lots of my activities, I very collaboratively work with them. So even though they have completed the internship, that relationship is there. That 40, 50 of them, all 40, they're there somewhere, but my last 10 interns, the relationship is completely different. So all those were by some of my office works, lots of things that's brought me a bit of change. The next part of my presentation is to do with this Kalpaviksha. So this is one visual map which I put together. Uh, yeah. So here I try to put together all whatever I explained about the SKEET framework. So the roots of what I am, or my learning framework is my practice, my skills, my seeking knowledge. So then from there, my knowing and my being is my trunk. My doing is the multiple branches. My exploration are the multiple branches. My experimentation are the multiple branches. My showing is the fruits the being is showing. So here I wouldn't want to call me. Solely I'm continuously saying being. The being is showing. Then the being is experiencing. The being is also expression. It's expressing itself. All that is part of it. And it's also giving. So continuously it's giving. So I felt the being itself as this Kalpaviksha tree, which is a wishing tree. And I wish certain things. So that is a desire or that sense of having or something. So it's not the primary thing, it's an outcome. So I would have put that having I have not having is something latest I captured as part of this particular one. Having I put as an outcome. It is not driving, but having comes as part of this multiples of these happening as outcomes. So I try to capture both the SKEET framework, the skill, knowledge, experiences, experimentations, exploration, the thinking, and experiences and expression on one side, and knowing, being, doing, giving, growing, all that on one side. Both I try to capture as part of this particular Kalpaviksha tree. And from there, what my future self is working on. I have been doing multiple things, and I try to start to focus. This is where I would want to end my presentation with focus and refocus. I started to focus on this education, so and efficacy. So where the being, part of Sir's session, the being is getting refined. How do I take it up to a larger people? Whatever I have learned, I wanted to take it to much more larger people. And ethos, in terms of this particular one, I've been exploring on temple architecture a lot. And that again, temple architecture is again a huge field, that Indianness feel factor, that Indian ethos. I've been exploring on that particular aspect. And as my professional career, as the user experience, all these four is where I have, instead of diverting a lot, I focused on these four areas where I would spend my future self. So in terms of the education part of it, I keep I have set up a design thinking laboratory in two of the schools, and continuously keep guiding these schools in terms of design thinking and lecturing in terms of the both from a teacher's perspective and students' perspectives. From a teacher's perspective, I was talking to them about that moment of experience, to that memory of experience in terms of what they need to deliver. So this is again a different topic. I would not go deep into that. Good teaching experience, how can that go? And in terms of a student toolkit, I came up with some 10 principles of that good learning. So these are some part of output which I can continuously keep exploring. And this is not fixed. I keep on refining these. So continuously keep reworking on this. And the second one is the temple architecture. These are all part of not the Siemens activity, but these are all that my extended activities, where Yali as a entity, it's fascinated me a lot. So when I was at Centroid, we completely digitized on complete Yali. We made a 3D model of it. We made molds out of it. And when I was doing it, is where that attachment towards this particular entity started to come in. That mythical creature, that which it's got that it's got that lion, elephant, horse, snake, multiples of these put together. It also somewhere it started triggering me when something like a Chinese dragon, when something like a phoenix bird, when it can become world famous, why not our Indian identity of this Yali can become world famous? That's one small activity which I started in terms of researching on this, what knowing about this particular thing, and in terms of recreating, I've created a scale model in concrete with respect to this extended interns extended, like Trisha was one of the in one of her sessions, she has been part of it. So with her I've been continuously working on creating this Yali as a paper model. And anything that needs to be sustaining, there has to be a business model, a financial model associated with it for it to be sustaining from a larger perspective. So this Yali, even though it's so passionate, I would want to make this Yali as a world famous thing, recreate, reincarnate this thing. I am also looking at this for it to be sustainable. What is that I need to do it to make it sustainable? I'm linking up multiple business models on top of this and working on some of these activities. And in terms of the other extended activity is as part of my, because I started off my user experience last 1.5, 2 years. When I restarted my thing, then the regular conventional, I started to look things from different perspectives. So those perspectives, when I'm talking to people, it is not the conventional perspectives. I felt that I should start documenting some of these perspectives. So I here again, me as independent person, when I was trying to work on it, because the being always starts to look at things to be more perfect. It takes enormous amount of my time to do lots of these activities. So in each of these activities, maybe the Yali activity or the UX saga, I am now working with lots of extended people. So who, again, with my thought process and that thought process aligning together, some of these are going on much more very swift. Here we are coming up with a series of posts on, we are calling it as UX sagas. It's both to do with micro sagas, two-liner information, or mini sagas about 50-word information, or it can be a saga like a parable. So some of my learning, some of my findings I'm trying to document on. This is again domain specific. I'm trying to bring it out. So this is one activity. So these are all some different activities which is the being is at present doing, and the being is not doing on its own. It's extending itself. Lots of giving is happening. So when that giving is happening, that synergy where it's multiplying. I would want to get this synergy in place because at Centroid, which is my entrepreneur career, I felt that I am driving it always. But now I am not driving it. I am part of an ecosystem where, be it Yali or be it this particular UX saga and the education, I am part of an ecosystem. I am part of a community. And I keep energizing that, and alternatively, the community also keeps energizing me. So, and it's going really more speedier, even though I'm calling it's going slow, but then what I actually felt, it's going really much more faster, and with ease it is going. That's the beauty which I'm able to relish as part of the session till date. The being is really at ease. It is not stressful at all. So again, the present state I would want to capture. Then my last slide for the day, my concluding slide for the day, where continuously the being is focusing, refocusing, lots of problems comes day in and day out, lots of issues. It will continue. It's in terms with that. So it's not fixed, even though I have fixed all these 4 activities of ethos, education, uh, experiences, and so these things even I have fixed. I am now only concentrating on two: the education part of it and the efficacy part of it. I am taking it a bit more slower. It's perfectly okay. But the other two, the ethos and the experience part of it, is going on really very speed. These are all work X activities. So and calm, that listening to inner oracle, is the present stage. Aligning with nature, I is gone, I am part of nature. There is an inner oracle which is continuously guiding, and that guiding continuous, it passes on. It is the preparedness of me in my daily activities allow me to navigate the turning point much more elegantly. That is the belief. So the visualization. So this one is, sir asked in one of the sessions, are you talking or are you narrating an incident? So that visualization of um, the being outside, and sir told you visualize, like how you visualize Anandavali and you, Sasta and all others, you visualize yourself from outside. I'm enjoying that. So whenever I push my being out, it passes on a bit of goosebumps. It's like that childlike enjoyment. It comes in, that when I'm visualizing myself, I laugh at myself sometimes. I wonder what this being is doing. I wonder, that reflection of whatever I've been doing on paper and so on, that's a different level of reflection which my inner being is doing. But that visualization of me separating myself from my bodily being and moving it out, it's a different feeling. I don't know how I am able to explain, but that goosebumps, that enjoy, I feel that different level of joy. But that's recently started. It's like it's like a pastime nowadays for me. Yeah, I move my being out, see myself. That's a nice feeling. So that's again part of this particular learning, present stage. Sleeping, whenever I sleep, lots of thoughts keeps coming and it keeps bombarding. It's when I get up, I really was really very stressful. But nowadays, when I go to sleep, it's complete blank. Even during my nap, 15 minutes nap, it's complete blank. I tell myself that that blankness, and when I get up, it's that charge is really there. That comes in because of when I sleep, I don't carry that excess baggage, that detachment. All that is the part of the present stage. No expectations from anyone. Accommodate and be flexible. This is one of the sessions that we have been very, very detailed. We deliberated on that, accommodate and being flexible. I was always flexible, but I was also trying to establish myself. But that me has gone out. So no expectations. Whatever doing, do it to your utmost perfection. No standards, external standards. It's the standards which I set for myself. Time flies. It Earlier I used to get stressful. Now I go with the flow. It's reduced drastically, but now sometimes it gets frustrated also. But trying to get that also nullified. Finally, I want to end up my presentation with, sir, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for all this 9 months of this intense activity, and I'm happy with myself, sir. That's with that I would want to conclude my presentation. That's the greatest learning.
Absolutely genius level, Ramesh. This is called genius level. We should not be confused with the existing knowings and images and general knowledge about genius. Genius, the term genius means the attendant spirit. So, whatsoever you explained, whatsoever you pointed out, Of course, it is only a part of what you have really undergone, no doubt about that. But that is absolutely an evidence of the level of spirit with which you can do the doing of knowing, with which you can do the doing of doing, with which you translate your knowing and doing into the being. That's all. That's all about it. And ultimately, you have made that in point number 9 the largest of the type. So that itself shows how convinced you are about that particular point, happy with the self. And that is the mark of the genius. This is what is normally called in the popular language, so called Anandamayam. They are all, let us say, I would say, to a great extent, the uneducated, illiterate people. So when they get this feeling, they use available words like Anandamayam, blissful, and things like that. That's all. Happy with the self. Wonderful and very, very creative and very original. Like you pointed out in that symbol diagram, a brilliant tree with brilliant branches and brilliant blooming. Ramesh, I feel
Yeah.
so thrilled to see this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I would also want to take this opportunity to thank every single individual in this program. So everyone have made a bit of a dent in me. So I've learned a lot from each of you, and I wouldn't want to call this a transformation. This is not a transformation journey at all, but it's a journey in getting peace. It's a journey in getting in terms with myself. It's a journey in yeah, I'm not getting words, but thanks to every individual, and I've learned a lot from everyone. Every sessions, even though lots of sessions I go a bit blank, but little bit whenever I listen, I learned a lot.
All right. Wonderful.
Can I say something, sir?
Yeah.
Uh, so I had sent you a photograph today morning, sir, when I had biked in last year, same day to Coimbatore. So and similarly, today I was actually most of the day on a bike, but it was across Bangalore to meet an old friend of mine who we connected through when he started writing songs for me. So he's right now in the UK. We met after about, I think, 8 years now. Coming back again at the destination here, you could say theoretically a whole day across Bangalore makes you so tired, but coming in, starting off, and Ramesh takes off, and then it's like, okay, I don't mind getting on the bike and riding once again, maybe to Coimbatore. That degree of energy is what you brought in through. I was reminded of a case like generally, if you look at so many people, we all maybe come from different levels of competencies, competitiveness, etc. But in these sessions, especially today, it is like we are part of an orchestra. And when a virtuoso is playing his or her instrument, you're so happy, you enjoy it, and you don't want it to stop. And that's my feeling from the heart, sir. Now, coming down to the head part of it, a few things what I just noted down. One was that your energy personified, and that has carried on from the beginning to the end. And everybody's sitting enthralled, nobody's speaking. Maybe some of us are just like typing away or taking notes down. And I like the way you started off, like sir was saying, a creative presenter. The palette was there, and in the top, like you have these small tags which go through. You told the basic script of the story, and then it evolved on and on and on. You've taken self-reflection to I would say, a very mastery level, to a level it's so comfortable that you're truthful. You're talking about all the ongs, all the aspects, fears, uncertainties, turbulences, and then you're the analogy of a cyclone, and then bringing it all to the center of the eye of the hurricane, that calmness, that is like visualizing all of this into a level. Then internalizing all of these sessions and applying that through, and very furiously taking the self-evaluation and learning to, I think, to a amazing level. That is one thing which is I just have to call out as an end. That was all, sir. And Ramesh.
Definitely, I completely agree with the observations of Tintin, no doubt. And much more, as said, the showing the absolute mastery over showing, presenting the ideas. That itself is wonderful. How you could organize all these materials into such a compact format is wonderful, Ramesh.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Tintin ji. Thank you, sir. But more than me organizing this, sir, it's all delivered by you, sir. So it's delivered by you, but yeah. So it's
No.
what you have delivered is what.
This itself is a great work. This is almost like a book. I wonder, this how many slides? 15, right? Yeah.
Yes, about 15 to yeah,
Every
about
one of these,
28.
every one of these slides is a wonderful work of art itself, by its conceptual configuration, by its sequencing, by the so-called design and setting, and the process by which you explain to them as marvelous.
Thank you, sir.
Oh,
Maybe.
mm.
Can I say something, sir?
Your feedback, Nitya, of course, good. Yeah.
Yes. Um, I just want to say that this is a real genius presentation. More than that, you are showing us what is possible. I'm just looking at each slide and just sitting here in wonder. I actually showed it to my family also, like with the hurricane and everything. My older son is here, so he's into films. He had actually studied films, so I just showed him like how, from a designer's perspective, the world looked like, and every slide and every point that you mentioned, it comes from a 100% genuine, and and the way you present is so humble. After doing all of this, I really appreciate it so much, Ramesh. And in the first slide, you mentioned that it is 5% of your time, and I never thought how much time we are spending. But more than that 5%, you have spent much more time reflecting on these ideas, and if you that is quite visible in the way that you conceptualize all of this. So so much to learn from you, and every time it is like it is really magical. I don't know how to express, but um,
You have
um,
expressed you have expressed very beautifully, in very good sentences, in very precise language. You talked, Nitya.
thank you, sir.
You have done
Yeah.
that. So good.
Thank you, Nitya ji. So it's always been you have been a big inspiration, Nitya ji, in terms of. So when I was doing this presentation, I was looking through your notes and so on. So I was seeing a pattern emerging, but I didn't want the pattern to be really very evident. But I was able to see through a pattern.
Yeah, we are with every presentation or every session, we are becoming more clearer to what we ourselves understand, and you give those wings to those understanding much better than what I read, or like I just I'm simply sitting in amazement.
That's
So,
also a beautiful statement. You are giving wings to our understanding. Good poetry.
Yeah, that's,
We have
to
been
add to that, sir.
we have been writing poetry. Now you are talking poetry. Good.
Just to add to that, Nityaji, it's different palettes. So Ramesh painted a picture with masterful design. You were doing
yes,
that with poetry. So different ways of expression. Everything centered around the same
yeah.
concept.
It is so inspiring. Like even your routine that you explained, you get up at 3:30 in the morning, and doing yoga and your involvement with the temple architecture and the school activities and how you relate with your family, all that those are manifestations of how you have evolved through this journey, or even in even otherwise, as a genius. So really wonderful. Thank you. I don't want to extend so much, but yeah, expressing my wonder here. Thank you.
Ramesh, just slowly go back in the slides. Don't talk anything, just slowly. About 30-second pause on every slide. Just go back.
From first, from first I'll do.
Yeah.
That's growing. That's hidden behind black.
So just for a second, um, this slide, choosing this hurricane to explain your journey, it also, I was thinking that we are taking this journey to get back to our originality. Although we started with the calm in the middle, we have gone away to certain extent in our life sometimes, and then now with these learnings, we are trying to go back to see our originality. So that's the uh, path I saw when I saw this hurricane.
So in a way, it is the normally it is the calm before the storm, but it is the calm after the storm here.
Yes, yes,
So that center, the eye of the storm, is where it's completely calm.
yes,
So, so third session is allowing us to go through this complete thing to go towards that centeredness.
yes. We have experienced some hurricanes in here, and I know exactly how it feels like after all the rains and everything. Suddenly, for an hour or two, you will see the blue skies, and there is nothing. There's not even a sign of anything, and then the hurricane comes back, and then the remaining in the opposite direction it comes back.
Hmm.
So it was very correlatable to our experience.
So this is the first part.
So here I have a doubt, Rameshji. I was wondering if the being should be at the roots. I was just wondering.
Mm-hmm.
First the being happens, then the knowing. So I was wondering whether it should be that way.
Okay.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What was your question, Veena?
The being should be in the place of knowing. First the roots. Even in the banyan tree we pray the temples. It is the root is the Brahma. The Muledo Brahma Rupaya. The origin is at the roots. So being should be at the roots. I feel.
Being can be in the road from a different perspective. From an
Yeah.
organic perspective, of course, being is the road.
Okay.
Being is the ground where all construction happens, agree.
Yeah.
But the discovery of the being, discovery of that, as you mentioned, that happiness of the being, that started with the roots of knowing. That's the, as I mentioned in the beginning, that is the maybe the tragedy or the comedy of the human being. Without knowing, nothing is possible. Without knowing, a child cannot even lift a spoon properly. So, for the human being, so-called human being or human entity, it all begins with knowing. Knowing is the root. Knowing, including who is the father, who is the mother, where is my house, where is food, what kind of food, when to eat, when not to eat, A, B, C, D, Jack and Jill, all the knowledges. From that only the being evolves. In the case of evolution. But when you talk about the organic reality of existence, of course, being is the ground. All right,
Okay.
Veena.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Finally, as you mentioned, finally all this happens. Finally, this whole tree of the entity developed out of such a hard work and hard meditation. Finally, it will come back to the roots, and at that time, as you mentioned, you will come across the being. Yes, the tree will turn upside down.
Upside down. Yeah. Yeah.
That also, yeah. All right.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, what is the meaning of Samasanjanam?
Sama Sanjanam. Yeah, explain. Sama. Yeah, yeah, explain it, Ramesh.
So it is to connect. It's connect, join, combine, unity. So that is in Sanskrit the wordings are based on context. The meaning comes based on context. So you cannot associate this with one particular a meaning, but it's based on context. It takes different meanings. So it's to do with connectedness, connecting the dots. So why my initial slide also I put it together, because I always any activity I try to do this direct connection, indirect connections, and get into the insights, but connecting the dots. So and when I started this, so when the sir was telling about uh, document the learnings. so much amount of learnings. How am I going to make the document all these things? Is where I was trying to connect the dots from multiple perspectives, and that's where I also put this Samasanjanam to the main.
It also means what last time Chandrasekhar pointed out, sama meaning equalize, equilibrium. Yeah. Like Samegrita Aharam, that means balanced diet, something like that. Sama meaning to equalize, to normalize, to recalibrate into uniformity. That is the root meaning of the word sama. To make it equal, samam. In Malayalam you say, you put that equal to sign. Sama, in translated into mathematical language, sama meaning that equal to sign. Okay. Sanjanam. Sanjanam also means to originate, to develop. Whatever is originated by, whatever is formed out of something else. So Sanjanam, that means that is formed out of many other things. So many random things are happening here and there, and they all will be inspected, analyzed, and reshaped, and kind of evolved, and they all will be put in the form together, make it equal. That is called Samasanjanam. Like you make avial, you make a different and put it in equal quantities. There is a remainder of whatever mathinga, remainder of pavika, remainder of potato, all these things are there. Whatever is cut out, and they are all shaped in a more or less uniform piece so that the avial is formed.
Yes.
So Sanjanam, but this potato and all these things are formed in different contexts. They are all collected from different contexts. They are all sitting in different pockets of the kitchen. So you bring pieces of that and you make it samam, equal to, in the context of making avial. Here it is in the context of making a tree coming in its full entalaki, or the full format, or the full blooming. In that full blooming, in that preparation of the dish of your entity, that avial of your being, you bring in all kinds of things. And you take whatever is required, and you, like that Ramesh also mentioned, he might listen to a lot of things, but he takes what exactly required for him. Okay, so you take whatever is required and you make a more or less compatible, equally compatible, correlatable mixture of it, and that becomes the root of your growth as a tree, because your tree requires that Samasanjana. Now, if you look at the previous presentation, Nitya made a presentation of her learning that was in a different tangent, and that was in tune with her perspective, her ideologies, her mindsets, her originality, her creativity. Here we see the difference of Ramesh. That is his tendency, his thinking, his perception, his attention, his conceptualization, and so on and so forth. That is precisely genius himself. It is not about every one of you. Sorry, all of you come to a common understanding. So every one of you should have the daring, should have the freedom to come to your own tree in your own way. But as Ramesh did, achieve that completeness in your presentation also, in your dialoguing also, in everything that you do as much as possible. That's all. All right, go to the next place and finish it off, Ramesh. This is a wonderful thing that Ramesh is doing. I think I have also read a lot of research on education. Some 20 years back, I did a lot of research on education. That's why I spent a lot of time on training the school children in education. There is a countless number of papers on education. But I think this is something really unique. Really unique. Work on it, Ramesh, and at least publish a small booklet and send it across to even to the NCERT as well as to some schools. Okay, this is a great initiative, because the nation building, great society can be built only by proper education, as you are showing it here. The same physics and chemistry can be taught, let us say, but there should be a different orientation, different attitude, different mindset of the teachers to provide a little bit of different things at least at the end of every session. 5 minutes every day. So that 5 minutes every day of every teacher can be prepared, can be designed from this framework. Ramesh, wonderful. All right, yeah.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yeah.
Ramesh, we can see that your background is completely empty today, or it's just blanked out, and we can see only your face. Is it a part of the presentation that your eye is gone or something on the line?
Wonderful, wonderful noticing that, Nitya. Yeah.
You are muted, Ramesh. You have to turn it on.
No, I was experimenting a bit with my backdrop, with my lighting, with my cameras and all that thing. It didn't come as what I wanted. So because the laptop camera is not really very high resolution, so I was using my mobile camera to stream. So and I was using a different lighting to get only the face lit and complete everything black. So that was what my inspiration was, but it did not happen. So it not
It is
happened
happening.
as
But it is really happening.
It
Okay.
is happening. Yeah.
May
it
not
didn't
be up
happen
to
to
this
the.
level of perfection. All right.
Yeah, Ramesh, I was feeling I walked in very late towards the end of your presentation, but I've been mesmerized since. And when I looked at you, it almost appeared to me like a movie was going on and a celestial being is talking from the sky because there's no light around you. So it was really like that, like you were speaking from there and kind of guiding us. And of all your slides, I think I love this slide the most because this is worth a book in itself, and this is something which you must spread. The 10 principles of good learning, it's brilliant. And how you have woven in the experience of both the teacher and the student, and the last point, the memory of experience. That is so true, and you put it so beautifully because as a student, that's what you carry with you, the memory of a class, and that reinforces your learning. And I have seen so many taxonomies on learning. I have never come across something so true and so brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I also mentioned.
Thank you so much for this. This is lovely.
I have scanned a great lot of literature.
Not one.
Ramesh may not be clearly aware of what he has done because he is from a different field. This he created out of his originality of understanding everything. Starting with the initial argument, there was a great, one of the most influential thinker in educational reform, Ramesh, by name Margaret Mead. Then Abraham was like great lot of psychologists, great lot of thinkers, not only psychologists, philosophers, thinkers, and other educationists have tried to give it so many formats, so many guidelines, so many frameworks on education. But let me tell you, I am very different. This is a very comprehensive and highly original format, like Meenakshi mentioned, that we understand it better. Maybe Meenakshi understands it better because she is much more regular a teacher than I am. So, work. Just to give this diagram and explain every concept and its reference, that's all. Explain every concept, point number one. Narrate the referent of those concepts, and then you can write some joining statements. It will become maybe a 30, 40 page booklet. Beautiful. That's enough.
Sure, sir.
Yes, Ramesh.
Thanks,
in,
Meenakshi.
in most of the schools, we are still continuing to use what is called the Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy. It's a very old model and it's outdated now. And I'm thinking that's nothing. This is so brilliant. You must take this to places and share it with schools because they're still stuck with the old models.
Okay.
I'm sure this will be appreciated. This will be very good. Please do that.
I have gone through Bloom's taxonomy, I think about 4 years back, and it's very complex to understand. I never knew that was the basis on which our current educational system was based on. I think this is more intuitive, right? We were trying.
That's why it's good. That's why it's good.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback, Meenakshi ji. Yeah. So yeah, the two schools which I'm working on, so they were very open to this, and yeah, again, it has to be developed on further. So basically, the idea thought process was the student comes with a different bias, the teacher comes with a different bias, unless there is a synergy that happens between the student and the teacher, where the teacher is in best of a delivery mode and the student is best on the receiving mode. When both is at its best is when the synergy happens. Till that point, your learning is not happening. Till that point, your teaching is not happening. So that synergy space is what I'm calling it as the experience space. And once that synergy happens, that is your memory. That remains as your memory of experience. So this is the thought process behind this particular framework.
Yeah, I think Ramesh, you exactly nailed it, because I found the Bloom's taxonomy very contrived, because we use it as a foundation for course design, in terms of writing the key objectives and the outcomes. So we follow the taxonomy to do this, and I've always found that it was a very contrived exercise, because it's given and written and developed only from the teacher's perspective and our expectation of what the student must do. But the beauty of your model is that you're combining both together and making it an experience where they are sharing the learning process in terms of giving and receiving. And that's what makes it so unique, so intuitive, and so effortless in even understanding it when compared to a model which you have to force yourself to understand and replicate in your course outline.
Yeah, that was more force fitting, right? This is more interactive.
That's why I called it contrived. That's why I called it contrived. But this is effortless and this is intuitive, and that's why we are able to relate to this so well. And, yeah, so beautifully put.
So, like you were saying, Ramesh, this is a speck of hard carbon, which now you can polish and bring out as a diamond, as from your. I mean, it's already there. You just need to bring it on its own elegance.
Yeah, I think it's already a diamond. You just need to find a setting so that it shines and is presented to the world. Don't lock it in your cupboard.
Yeah.
Sure, definitely. Next.
Can you maybe do a 3-minute or a 7-minute video on this and put it up? Would like to.
That's also a good idea. Make a 7 minutes video on this, just like that, and put it in the YouTube, and follow this methodology. Take each of these concepts, explain its concept sense, then go to its reference, and then interpret it. Finished. And there are so many journals now. Send it to one or two of the educational journals, and I'm very sure, I'm telling you, definitely journals have certain editorial policies and all that. I'm sure maximum what they may do is they will send you the document back asking for some suggestions, so that they will look at it from a reader's perspective most of the time. And especially editors are supposed to do something, therefore they will at least artificially make some pretensions and make slight changes here and there. So and that is another assignment along with the Viali. Okay.
Yes, yeah, definitely, sir.
The Viali of education. All right. Okay. Okay.
Ramesh, I wanted to ask you one more thing.
Make it as a document of Viali of education for India and a dragon of education to Chinese.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Ramesh, I want to ask, we are in the process of organizing a theatrical workshop for some students during the holidays. Can I use this slide as one of the, with reference to you, of course, can we use your this particular slide as for the students' benefit?
Yeah, should be okay. In terms of giving, so it's like you can definitely use. Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
it's
Thank you
like
so much.
this has to get shared. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's very, I'm not in the teaching field yet, but it is very correlatable and easily can be explained and understood. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ramesh ji, I want to add something, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Certainly, yeah, Ramesh ji. Hello.
Uh, Hello. Yes, Naviji, I'm able to hear you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Then, certainly, as usual, a very designer's perspective is quite evidenced in this very exhaustive and pictographic documentation of your learning tree, and it's simply brilliant. Congratulations for that. Even it needed lots of patience on even on my behalf to go completely in an attentive mode to discern all that what you have presented. And I think it will depends. It will need more and more time to thoroughly go into your the concepts of your presentations. What I want to add is coincidentally, sir wanted the learning from us, and coincidentally, you have counted the days, timings, and seconds of the sessions, and you have almost totally picturized the whole gestation period of this session. And as you have counted, this is 9 months and 27 days. I think this is another evidence that, and hope it will happen that a new human baby has almost born within the every participants, and it is exactly the gestation period of in that period a human being is born, and I think we are delighted. Certainly we will all have a unique baby to all of us, and it will evolve to a much higher level, and it will be and it will grow to a whole human being. But I think the kind of evidence that you have presented, and coincidentally the kind of gestation, the period of gestation you have counted, I feel something that everybody is certainly feeling in beating in that it's time to deliver, and almost everybody has delivered a new human baby within. Okay, that's the point. That's I am feeling by your presentation, not just me, but I have my own baby also, and I am delighted also. That's great, sir. And certainly, from the conceptual level of the session, you have gone to the delivery point, and evidences are coming.
Thank you,
I'm
thank
de-
you,
yeah.
thank you, Naviji. And regarding
Congratulations to
this,
you,
yeah,
congratulations to you, and congratulations to sir. Also, there's so many babies are likely to come.
yeah, yeah,
And
and I would also want to credit this particular teaching experiences to again Anandoli and the kids, because the Anandoli and the kids when there, because this is purely out of observation, and because I'm not sure, I have not read so much on the education models, Bloom psychology, and all that thing. So the way that they interact, and when the learning happens with the kids is where we are really very curious as parents. So it doesn't happen. So how it happens at home is where it has to happen in the school also. So lots of these where Anandali kids, I want to credit to the complete thing, and we keep discussing about this particular thing in terms of imparting learning and so on at home. So yeah, I would also yeah, at this moment I want to bring them also. So yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
so you are doing whatever you have written there.
Yeah, yeah,
You care for
it's
your
it's
family, you are giving credit to your family, and you have already done the presentation with the concept of perfection you always talked about. Starting counting even the time duration of the entire program, starting with the starting date and the dates of sessions and all that. It's absolute perfection. But I just wanted to tell you that perfection is okay, but you can also try to replace, you can reflect upon a concept of completeness. What you have done is completeness. Perfection is a very vague, generic term. Something is perfect maybe because it is complete and elegant and correct. So Nothing wrong. Perfection is a term that is comprehensible to the majority, but completeness can convey a lot to the audience. How I will achieve complete perfection? If somebody asks you, you can give points by achieving completeness. How to achieve completeness? It is very clear. Start from the beginning to the end of whatever is available. That is called completeness. So the completeness of a tree starts with the seed going, the roots going down and the branches going up. That is completeness. So completeness is a beautiful concept. We can perhaps think about replacing the concept of perfection with completeness. That's all. And that is the Rigvedic term also. Purnat Purna Mudichyate. From completeness arises completeness. Completeness here and there, and so on and so forth. All right. Wonderful, Ramesh.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So, all right.
Master, I had one point to make. Ramesh, this is a request from my end. I wish you're not so self-critical about yourself. I request you to be kinder to yourself.
Okay.
Just tone down that bit a little, because somehow when you went to that slide, I could almost feel that pain in being self-critical. Probably that is something which has constantly pushed you to get better and better. But somehow I feel you are at a point where you can be more accepting of yourself and a little less self-critical.
Thanks for that feedback, Meenakshi ji. But yeah, so looking at, earlier there used to be lots of comparative things which has creeped into me. But now, like what I was saying, I am not looking at outside at all. So in terms of, so it's only the benchmarks are only within. So earlier the benchmarks I was comparing with people, but now I'm not looking at from that perspective. So if this being can do more is where I'm getting that critical aspect, but I understand you. But I fully now all these frameworks and so on, like some of these I have a few more also, but I am fully with the sir and with Tintin, Meenakshi ji, with all of you, that these have to see the light of the day. So that is where one topic which I also put in my thing in terms of showing. So, but knowing, being, doing, that showing part is where I also felt that whatever is this being has created should see the light of the day, because it cannot be with a certain smaller crowd, 30, 40 people or 60 people or 100 people. But if this can get shown, is where another activity is where I need to start focusing on. Yeah, thanks for that feedback, Meenakshi ji. Yeah, but the critical aspects, I am not very sure about that, but yeah, thank you. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Yeah.
Ramesh, you should be called a super genius. Genius will not define you. You can't be trapped by boundaries of genius. You're
You
super
have to
genius.
have a samasanjanam there also. You have to be self-critical. Everybody is capable of criticizing or being critical about other people. To be self-critical is one of the most powerful competency, one of the most complex competency, one of the least easy competency. It's not at all easy to be self-critical. Not at all. It is not the self-criticism which perhaps Meenakshi implies, it happened to me, I am not good. Not that self-critical. That is not self-criticism. It is self-pity. So self-critical meaning creative, critical, like he said, tearing apart of oneself to see which way, applying the engine of reflection and to see how the next step is possible. So that self-criticism, without that, as I told you, one of the characteristics of all geniuses is that capability to be self-critical. It is not self-blaming. No. It is not blaming oneself. Oh, I am not able to do that, therefore I could not, I'm a failure, or they're feeling tension and anxiety about not doing something on time, etc., etc. That self-criticism may be happening with a lot of people. A lot of people even say, my life is a complete failure and all that, as if it is a result of self-criticism. No, no, that is not self-criticism. That is it is called some self-pity. Self-criticism is always positive, like identifying what is required, what is not required, what is to be eliminated, what is to be accepted. That is the real referent of self-criticism. Like so vimarsha purushartha. That's what we mentioned last time. What is vimarsha? Criticism. So vimarsha purushartha. That which gives meaning to that which gives meaning to that which is formed as an expression of Isha, that means Purusha, is Swavimarsha, which I don't even 0.001% of people are even aware of. And the one who guides Swavimarsha is the Guru. So, Vimarsha, Swavimarsha is one of the most important requirement, I would say, every one of you must develop. Because most of the thing we take as positive of ours and feel good about it, when we analyze it, we must find many fallacies in that. Okay? So, I want every one of you to be masters in Swavimarsa. Actually, masters in Swavimarsa. Okay, exactly 3 hours. It is a very well planned presentation. Also, I think by the time of presentation, a complex set of concepts and concept senses were clarified and brilliant. In fact, you can even be a small kind of a trainer in the art of presentation, PowerPoint presentation.
Right, sir.
How to conceptualize
yes.
a series of ideas, especially how to what you call divide concepts and sequence them and place them into the slides. So, a very masterly use of the method of PowerPoint presentation also, Ramesh. Wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Also, sir, Ramesh has been using the word multiple. The word multiple is always used by him multiple times.
Yeah, there were
So,
multiple times when he used the word multiple, of course.
yes, yeah. So the multiple areas which he applied is really unbelievable. So not whatever areas he applied everywhere.
That's
So,
beautiful because he's, look at his position, look at his
yes,
background, look at his
yes,
family, look at his work. He spent
yes.
5 hours on this today.
Today,
What
yes,
is it? Yeah, that is absolutely, let me say, incredible, Ramesh, incredible. For what, actually? This is that self-completeness. Whatever you do it complete. For nothing, just like that. Like the priest, that is Purnat Purna Mudichyade. Not for anything. Because it is complete, whatever it does is complete. That's all. Even if you have done it without this kind of a format, you would have talked the same thing. It will be more or less the same. But that is your duty. That is your genius. To spend that 5 hours. And that too, if I spend 5 hours, I can understand. I don't know anything else. But you spend 5 hours, meaning it is marvelous, Ramesh. It is wonderful. It is great. That is your genius. That is your will. So, whatever you have done, whatever you have explained, they're all in correlation with your being. You have achieved that samasanjanam of your knowing and doing and being as of now. And when more janma happening, you may have to little again do that sama equalization. So, randomness, structure, randomness, structure, randomness, structure. Every new input creates a little bit of randomness or disturbance, you put a structure. Again, new thing coming, you put a structure. That's what entire universe is. That's what every tree is. That's what every cell of the being, the body is doing. Brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Of course.
Yeah, that That randomness and structure again, that's again a huge, big amount of learning, sir. Because I was not in terms with that at all. I was not terms in terms of that randomness. Also, I was not in terms that structuring. Also, something monotonous. It becomes a bit monotonous. So when something is monotonous, I completely avoid it earlier. So I want to try out something new. So when I want to try something new, it always used to be random. So I was not in terms with that. So that randomness and structure, putting it together like that also is a good amount of learning in terms of
That's an
both is
example.
required.
Yeah.
Both
That's
is
an
required.
example of Samasanjanam, Nitya. All right. Okay.
I think the problem with many people is that you fall into either of those buckets of behaviors. Either you're totally random and eccentric, or you're too rigid.
Exactly. This is what, if you remember, when I talked about the highly researched conclusions of the qualities of geniuses, most common, right, at that day, I displayed the commonest characteristics of creative people. One of them, if you remember, the ability to bring opposites into a whole, like Tintin just now mentioned, the so-called opposites into summum, into equalization. That's why the entire world is not capable of that. That's why all the conflicts, that's why all the religious conflicts or political conflicts or everything, they are not able to, they want to belong to one. Exactly, yes, yes, Tintin, right. All right, 10:30, and the procedure
Thank you.
closed down appropriately. Anything else? Vinay is thinking something. What is your question, Vinay? You have some question?
Uh, no, sir. I was just thinking about the sentence as you said before that I mean combining or bridging the polarities
Yeah,
together.
yeah. Rather,
I was just thinking.
for a genius, polarities just does not exist. The words by its meanings and consonants may look different poles, that's all. But the genius who is always in tune with the referent realities of the universe, there is no polarity.
So can you
There's,
give an example, sir?
in the universe, there is no polarity. Vina is human logic of perception. For example, in the daytime, you can see all the trees and every blade of grass. In the nighttime, we cannot see. Therefore, we feel incapable of managing it. We are in an uncomfortable zone. So, we see a divide between the daytime and the nighttime. It is the work of our logic. That's all. But in the universe, there is no difference between light or dark. It is just a process, ongoing process. That's all.
Okay, sir.
That's all. All this division, so-called division, is the contribution of our logic. That's the theory of Shankara also. Advaita, there is no two. Dvaita meaning two or more. So people see two or more. Everybody is different. The so-called black is different from the white. The West is different from the East. The Chinese is different from this. All these differences are perceived. They are all Dvaitam, divided. So there is everything is the same. Advaitam. So in Advaitam, there is no polarity. Dvaitam, the two is the opposites. Dvaitam, the two. So there is no two, all are one. That only the genius himself, the genius individual could see that oneness. That's all.
So I have a question.
Yeah,
Sir, in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna was convincing or educating Arjuna, in the beginning they were at different poles. So, from the understanding of Krishna, there was no or there were no polarities. So, with that understanding, he is merging that gap. Is it that way?
that also. That you can find any examples. Like, of course, that was mentioned here in one of the slides also. Like it starts from emptiness, it goes around and it comes back to emptiness. And I thought when I was about to talk about the polarity of action and non-action mentioned by the great trainer Krishna. In your action, there can be non-action also. In your non-action, there can be action also. I thought you were about to say that. All right. And we will have some sessions explaining the complex, if at all complex. I don't think anything will be complex for you in the future because you have experimented with referent perception, consciousness. You can understand, I would say, almost anything. Test it out. Okay. But
Sir,
nevertheless, yeah.
and a few words on Ramesh's presentation. It was huge, really huge. As always, we can experience from you from the design part, and I was thinking about the referent part of your presentation, and I can't even imagine the
Exactly,
referent
exactly,
reality part of your
exactly.
understanding.
The
It
reference.
was it was just a tip of the iceberg from my point of view, and from the depth you created, that tip of the iceberg is um, I'm trying to imagine, I'm trying to identify, I'm trying to feel that it's just a capsule of whatever sir expressed, or whatever sir educated us, and from that you created your own theories from that. I missed a few parts due to one or two phone calls. Um, Massive, really massive. Thank you, Ramesh, and thank you, sir, for being, for being myself part of this session.
Wonderful. Okay.
Thank
Mantra
you. Thank you,
Rishika,
Rishi.
Mantra Rishika, why don't you make a review?
Uh, about the presentation, I don't have like anything to say because all of you are already told that, and Ramesh ji, as always, his presentation is classic. And something that I understood after this presentation is that uh, about the training part, whatever Swami has trained us in, how we see it and how we perceive it and how we understand it creates multiple differences. And I didn't even know that this was possible. I was just wondering how your brain is working and how such complex ideas have been portrayed in such a simple way. And I'm just, there is nothing that I can say. I'm really, really privileged to be a part of this. Even at this young age, while other girls and boys of my age are doing nothing, I'm I'm so lucky to be here and know that these kind of people exist and there are these kind of possibilities. I'm having goosebumps while talking about this. And you are a really inspiration, really an inspiration for me. And whenever I try to be lazy, I'll always keep you in mind. Um,
Uh,
thank you, Ramesh.
Mantra and Ameya, both of you are always there in my mind whenever I'm making these presentations. Ameya's that poetry is always so. Today also, when I was running through this, Ameya's poetry and your artworks, so those were running through in the flash of my mind when I was doing a recap on the learning experiences. So thanks, Ameya and Mantra, also for really
Thank you, Ramesh.
inspiring us and to see, okay, at this engage when you people are able to do, so it again speeds up our process. Thank you.
I have to thank you, Ramesh. Thank you so much.
Okay, Parvati.
Come right.
Presentation as usual, beautiful and eye-catching. And I could see a lot of conviction when you spoke the complete journey. You spoke with a lot of energy, and that energy, I think, came from your complete conviction and experiences that you were going through or you are going through now. As Vinay said, I was also trying to get a referent of whatever you were saying, right from knowing to your climbing. Yes, so could relate to some of them, not all. Yes, but I also have. I was also experiencing a movie effect for 2 hours, and that was really engaging. And I really believe that it was possible to capture everyone's attention, just because it was very genuine, and you were narrating your experiences with lots of conviction. So. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for being very open. So great, great journey.
Thanks, Parvati ji. So this again, again, what I was trying to do here is I was trying to again that reflection process and observation of self is what I was trying to document. So being truthful and being observational and being documenting. That is what happened in today's experience.
Yeah. So every point you have reflected your journey, and that is amazing. You have not missed out on anything, and that also shows your sensitivity. That's also really nice.
Of course, Parvati, he was so free and cool even to talk about Anandavalli Shastra.
Yeah.
There are, you may not know Parvati because Anandavalli is his wife, and you must have understood it. He was
Yeah,
so cool,
understood.
so, as you said, so genuine, just cool. He wanted to say something and he said it beautiful, absolutely brilliant, absolutely truthful. Yes, Amay Rajarshi, would you like to say something?
Yeah. Uh, Mama, can you turn off your mic? It's, yeah. So, Rameshji, something that you made me aware of is that mm, that just learning is not what has to be done. That is, you learn and then you have to give. Only then the learning process is complete. So actually, what I understood from your presentation, which is really great, that is, you have done the real learning process. You have completed your learning process. That is, I mean, learning process here. That is, you started learning. You conquered that concepts, and you're giving back something for the other people to learn from. So you reached an I would use a metaphor of a hilltop, and you're giving people who are below the things on top. So I think that's a very great thing to do. Yeah. So thank you so much, Messi. So much.
Thank you, Amaya. So in terms of getting to peace, no, I always you are my inspiration in terms of that calmness and be at peace. So I always look upon to you, and that getting to that hilltop, that is not what my visualization, because it's always been since with respect to work. At home it's a bit different, but at work it's normally I'm more of a people person, and whoever higher up or bottom down, everyone are at equal. So my energies comes from my surroundings. So the people around me is where I borrow that energy, and I again give back that energy. It's again I the I part of it removing, and that giving also multiplied when a unconditional giving started happening. So yeah, thanks for bringing that point, Amaya.
Thank you, Messi. Thank you so much.
Okay, Ashwati.
Hello, Ramesh ji. I am so mesmerized by your presentation. You are evidence of the session actually, and you are the referent of genius himself. So, to understand, we can now just look at you, and the vague concept of the word has disappeared now from the evidence that you have given us. And you have slowed down the entire process of your evolution so much that you have gone into the referent and the realities of yourself also. And I think the detachment is the main learning that I have had from this entire thing, because I think now I understand better that that central axle which connects to nothingness of the wheel, so that detachment is very evident in how what you have done, and it's marvelous. Thank you, Ramesh ji, for such a wonderful, insightful presentation.
Okay. Wonderful reviews made by every one of you. Okay, Ramesh can respond. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashwati, for that comment. So basically, that the detachment is I'm not sure whether I am fully detached. That past and present, that past completely I got detached, but that future, that detachment is still holding on. That is getting into a bit of fear. So still I am trying to figure out how to get past that fear also. So if so that's where the loop is getting in. But the past detachment has really removed my excess baggage, because there were both failures and successes. So that point, and again, Ashwati has always been my inspiration in terms of getting to that fineness of details, that getting organized, and in terms of recording the sessions, putting it together. And when I'm miss some sessions, I contact her to get her the things. So I always feel that. That's what I'm saying. The energies comes from you. So thanks, Ashwati. Yeah.
All right.
So one more point, when you started, you said about the speed with which Ramesh speaks. I think today he was so much in control of his speech, and I could really feel the difference between the previous presentations, because today it was so, not that much slow, but it is so much convincing, and it's so much understandable for me. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, very true. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Everyone else, of course, because it requires clear concern and caring and giving and what you call most of those attributes on the part of everybody else to be present and to be genuinely listening to what Ramesh said. Wonderful, every one of you, to spend uh, more than 3 hours of time listening to Ramesh. Beautiful. That itself is a great indication of the geniusness in you. Geniusness in you manifested in the capacity of your listening with keen attention to what Ramesh said. Brilliant. I appreciate and I congratulate every one of you. Ashwati, Pavadi, Tintin, Vinay, Ashwati, Naveen, especially, because he is in the midst of a great official confusion, because election and things like that, his chief minister's office, a lot of confusion. Then Mandra and Avina, of course, throughout present, and Meenakshi particularly, it was a very particularly hectic day for her, because today was her first meeting of the state planning board, and in the very first meeting itself, she was selected as one of the core committee members in charge of something. Then she had a full day of interview, so it was definitely tedious for her. And again, she had to cook everything. So after the tedious session, she was feeling really sleepy or tired. But she also attended. I appreciate her for that. And I feel so good about every one of you. I am so proud about me that I can see every one of you at 11, 10:44 today. You will all become wonderful. That is for sure. No doubt about that. With all the best wishes on behalf of the genius of the universe, good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot,
Good
sir.
night.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Thanks
Ramesh.
to all.
Wonderfully, Ramesh.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you, Ramesh.
Yeah, well
Thank
done,
you.
Ramesh
Thank
ji.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh
Thank
ji.
you, everyone. Yeah.
Good night.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all. Good night, all. Thank you, sir.